You know him from Rock Paper Podcast. You know her from Hesdan Slummer Metalworks and Art. Now, join Shane Presley and Lexy Slummer.
Hi.
For Riffs for Gifts at Pops with Outrun the Fall, The Poor, Steeple, Monk and the People, The Matching Shoe, and Silent Hollow. Will Santa Claus show up? Find out at Pops in Sauget on Saturday, November 24th. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. $10 general admission, or only $5 with a toy donation for Toys for Tots. Riffs for Gifts. It's for the children.
Hey, we are back after all that chit chat and that 5.5 minutes of recording. We have started episode 153, a day late
and a dollar short.
We've never been paid, so I'd say multiple dollars short. But there is no Flop because she's not here, and there's no Bender because, well, people were blessed. But what there is a Silver Badger to my left, which is a weird spot for him.
I'm not cattywampus today. It feels weird.
You're opposite wampus. And that's only because I forced you out of your seat.
No, I graciously gave it up to our guest.
So our guest could use the phone because, spoiler alert, something's going to happen that's never happened on our episode, maybe here in a little while. We hope, fingers crossed. But multiple time returning guest and friend of the show and quite the podcaster in his own right. That'd be one Shane Presley of the Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey-o. Podcast of the Year recipient, I believe?
Yeah, podcast of... What was that award you got?
St. Louis Magazine named it A-List Award recipient for Best Podcast in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, that's because we're in St. Charles County.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. No, that's awesome, though.
Yeah,
how did that even come about? I mean, was there voting? I never saw it.
Well, my particular award was Editor's Choice Award.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah. Not that, I mean, it's always great when the fans vote. But then, Joey Bag of Donuts podcast might win just because he's got 40 family members that vote 100 times
right.
each. But that's...
Good podcast, though.
Yeah, man, it's one of my favorites. I just love his donut.
Burrito at Moe's,
His donut takes are amazing. But, an Editor Choice Award, to me, says that there's someone of some sort of importance, maybe a learned person, enjoys what you do. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man, that was so cool. I really have no idea how all that came about.
You had a black tie because of that, right?
I dressed up. I put on a tie.
You put on the collar shirt.
It was a
right.
Rock Paper Podcast shirt.
Yeah.
That'd been awesome.
It was like a red carpet thing going on down in Clayton. They had free food and booze for the party and all that stuff. So that was really cool to be a part of all that. But yeah, I got to have an issue of the magazine with my name in it and everything.
You got one of those things to put in your office?
Yeah.
Like the president, you with the president,
right.
a Time magazine with Shane. That's awesome.
We had a nice plaque, I believe, too, right?
Yeah, they give you the award and stuff, and also all the restaurants you see, voted A-List Award, and for all that different other people that receive them, I have the same thing that says my name in the podcast. So, yeah, someday when I get in office, I'll be ready to roll. So.
When's the last time you got a plaque, Tom? For anything? Think about it.
Great question. I think the last time I got any kind of award was Most Improved Runner freshman year of the Smet Jesuit High School Cross Country.
Good for you. Most Improved is kind of a backhanded compliment, right?
Well, I started off, we had 10 races. I started off the first race 13th place on our team, and by the end of the year, I was 3rd place on our team.
It's weird. There was only 8 guys, so to get 13th
They
place,
just started quitting.
It's unbelievable.
When was the last time you won a plaque?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember. I may have never got a plaque for anything. I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I'm sure as a kid, but I've gotten trophies.
Tallest kid.
Uh-oh. Let's see if it's working.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
Hey, it is working. And so real quick for everybody that doesn't know, this is our first call-in guest of all time. I feel like we're a real radio show right now.
I feel like we could be 20 watts.
Yeah, at least broadcasting to the 3rd block over.
And coming up after the show, it's Steve and his crazy conspiracies.
But since no one knows this voice on the other line, let me first say that this is Lexy, right?
Yeah.
It is.
And Lexy, you are talking to Jeremy. I am the main host of the PC Bombcast, and with us is my number 2 host, simply because there's no one else here. That would be Tom, the Silver Badger.
What's up, party person?
And for our guests that don't know, I'm assuming that your fans know who this is.
Yeah, Lexy's a friend of the show for sure.
Yeah, so this is Lexy. Lexy, I read your Facebook page today. You are you describe yourself on your bio right underneath your Facebook as noted guitar player, welder, artist that loves Keith Richards, and I got to tell you, that's maybe the best description of anyone that's ever been on our show. Maybe the most unique.
I'm just impressed you did show prep.
That was the extent of my show prep.
Right.
Well, it's the most accurate. I mean, I kind of fancy myself as doing 100 different things at once. So it's like,
Well,
it is what it is.
And so I want to ask you first the welding thing. It's what tell me about that, because and of course we're gonna. I mean, I feel bad for Shane because we've talked to him, so we want to talk to you. I wish you were here. I understand why you're not, because the weather just Missouri weather sometimes has a tendency to shit on us, and it shit a lot of white flakes all over us today and made it impossible for you to drive from Illinois. I understand.
Edwardsville.
Yeah. Kind of where I
Yeah.
work, and so I left early today to work halfway over here. But so tell me about the welding thing, because I'll be honest with you, the only other female welder I know is on Shameless on Showtime.
And Flashdance.
Oh, and Flashdance.
Yeah, I get those all the time. That's what they always compare it to. They're like, "Oh, do you watch Shameless?" I'm like, "Oh my god, yes, I guess." So, the welding thing. Okay, so basically, it's kind of weird. My parents owned an auction company for 26 years, and they had all this metal all the time that came through, and things that needed to be fixed. When you have an auction company, you get all sorts of crap that comes through. And I always liked the internal workings of everything. I really liked steampunk and things like that. So anyway, I kind of was like, how do you put this stuff together? And I was always, good with power tools and stuff. I worked with different, woodworking and things like that. But anyway, my dad was like, well, let's go learn how to weld. And so I was 19 at the time, and I took some classes and stuff, and I really liked it. I was just kind of doing it out of my garage. I went to college. I got my bachelor's in business marketing, Spanish, and paralegal, and I was working at a courthouse for up to 5 years before that I actually went off on my own and did this whole welding thing.
Well, that's a natural transition, right?
Yeah, of course, total 180, right? But I dated this welding inspector at the time, and so he was a total jerk about everything, which was great because I got to be really good at what I was doing, in my humble opinion. I got to do that. So I learned a ton, and I kind of apprenticed with a shop that he was helping with or whatever in the evenings while I was still working at the courthouse. Well, the Rolling Stones were coming through. This is really funny. It's a big,
It ties your whole thing together.
Yeah, it ties the whole thing together. Rolling Stones were coming through. I'm a huge Keith Richards fan. Well, I wanted to go to the concert, and I wanted to go to the concert, but they were going to be in Nashville, Kansas City, and Indianapolis. So I was actually in the middle of court one day, and I got my 6th row ticket, and they were $500 each.
Ooh, I was going to say,
oh
anybody that knows anything about Rolling Stones, if you're ground level, you got to take out a mortgage.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. So
You could have got Mick Jagger's dentures.
Yeah.
It was going to be $1,000 plus I had to travel. So I was like, how am I going to fund this? So I started selling metal sunflowers, and I sold them. I brought one into the courthouse, and I sold 135 of them to everybody that worked there.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, if you don't mind. You brought metal flowers into the courthouse. I got to tell you, that guy working the gate and the metal detector deserves to be fired.
Oh, well, they all knew that I was doing that, so they thought it was kind of hilarious. And actually, some of the guys that work the metal detector there are my biggest clients. They would call me, and I would it was so funny how many times I was in parking lots opening my trunk with a bunch of metal stuff that I made for the cops, that they wanted done.
Well, on one hand, that's a cool story, but on the other hand, you just taught terrorists how they just got to befriend the metal detector guy. That's just it.
I know. I see. It's a sociopath game. You gotta pick your people. You gotta know what they want. You gotta know how to work them. But long story short, it ends up being I made a mic stand that was brass knuckles all the way up, and it had a skull on the bottom. And I played Old Rock House, and the sound guy, his girlfriend worked for Schlafly, and she ends up calling me and asks me to make a fire pit for Schlafly in the dead of winter in December 2015. So ends up happening, I get this contract with Schlafly. I had left the courthouse. I went to start working at this law firm. I hated it. And then they did a big, I bought a burn table, like a CNC. Like, I went to my grandma. I got her to fund this, like, burn table. I say I did. It's really, I had already kind of talked to my parents, my mom, my dad, my sister. Everybody kind of wanted a career change and stuff. So we basically, my grandma invested in us, and she got this, it's which is like buying a car. We bought this burn table, and we were making all these changes. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to start this business, on the side. And then all of a sudden they did a clear at the law firm, and they fired me. And the next week Schlafly calls, and they want 40 shelves for all the Aldis, and in the Metro East, like on Illinois side and Missouri side. By then it was 300 shelves, and then it was 13 states. And so we opened our doors. My parents turned their auction company into the building into a shop, and I basically ringlead along with them. And my dad does the powder coating. My mom does like the acid wash, all the grinding, all the wire wheeling. My sister does all the CNC, and I'm the welder fabricator. And we did Riot Fest Chicago.
Wow.
We just built 2 motorcycles for the Sturgis Museum. They picked 30 builders across America to come in and make these custom bikes. Well, 2 of them called us. One of them I actually got to physically fabricate, help powder coat. Well, my dad did like the major powder coating. I did a lot of the tape off stuff, but I built one totally. And then the other one was the former drummer of Buck Cherry, who's been a friend of mine for 13 years. And so Sid CNC'd a bunch of stuff for his bike, and which is actually went on the cover of an international magazine. So we've been in business almost 3 years. And the first year that we were in business in 2016, we opened in March, and by December I was on the cover of Welding Productivity. I was the first chick on the cover of that. And then my sister had gotten cancer twice that year.
Oh man!
So we had to weather that. Sid would come in after radiation and would still work because we were hungry. We were trying to make it happen,
And what is the company called?
It's called Hess Van Schlemmer Metalworks.
Which is also a pretty awesome name, dude. Yeah. That's the most metal name you could ever get for a metal company.
It's very German. It's like, what's funny about it is Hess is my mom's maiden name. Van is for Vanzo, which is my grandma Sandy, who funded the burn table, and then Schlemmer is the rest of it. So it became Hess Van Schlemmer Metalworks, and we've been hoofing it for that long, and it's been great because I'm not working with 80 women. I can take my dogs to work. I can work whenever. But people, the misconception when you own your own business is that you have all this freedom, you have all this money. No, you are poor and you are tired.
You think that's awful? You should own a comic book store. I've been there. That is the worst. And this is a dot that didn't need to be connected, but I got the email today to volunteer for Cabin Fever coming up here in January with Schlafly, which I've done like 4 years in a row, 3 years in a row. I've warmed up next to your fire pits.
That is so funny. Yeah, no, we've had those guys the longest. They were the first ones that were believers, and the best part about them is I was very green when I was, at the beginning of my welding, and they're like, could you leave it rustic and kind of like don't grind the weld, just make them look like, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is perfect. Like this is, I can make everything look rough, and it's going to be, oh yeah, this is art. This is it.
You should have said, do you want me to intentionally mess up in one spot? Because I could do that. Yeah. I don't mind.
They're like, leave the rust, leave all this stuff. Thank you, God. Thank you so much. Like, this makes it so much easier. So, yeah, I mean, we've had so many. I always say when people are like, what do you do? I'm like, well, it's custom. I was like, if you want a hippo with a jetpack, I'll make you a hippo with a jetpack. But, like, we've done so many weird things. We've done hot air balloons. We've done signs. We've done, we've done fire pits, lots of them, shelves, and it's just it's really kind of endless. We have had the notorious reputation for just saying yes and then going back and figuring it out, because that's the way it was. I'd never made a shelf in my life. When I got the contract with Schlafly, I said, yeah, we can do this, and walked out of the meeting and turned to my dad and said, okay, now we have to learn how to make a shelf, and that's exactly how it went. And It's just blind faith.
Well, I tell you what, I want to get to one more thing before we tie together you and what, well, Shane's just here because we love having Shane, but we also want to plug what you guys are plugging. But before we do that, I want to hit on two things. One, after this conversation, I'm sensing a Pop Culture Bombcast logo in steel. That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And two, you're by far maybe the coolest person that's ever been on the podcast.
Definitely cool.
Oh my God!
Chilling.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of me and Tom that are here every day, of course. I mean, but people are used to our level of coolness, so it's nice to have a fresh perspective of cool on the show.
I just want to know when your memoirs are coming out on Amazon.
No
I want to read your story.
No, it's so funny because I just went to FabTech in Atlanta last week, which is the big welding convention that they have, and I was one of 12 women that were there, but and it was funny because they don't even talk to you in your face. My friend Mike went down there with me because we worked on the motorcycle together, so. His wife was nice enough to let him go with me to Atlanta, and we went and hooked around there, and we ended up with we would talk to people, and they would I would start talking, and they would look at him, and he's looking at me what the hell? He has nothing to do with my company,
He's like, I don't even know what metal is. Just here.
I'm my sister would say, "Oh, this pesky vagina doesn't know anything," because it's so ridiculous. But it's just It cracks my shit, my shit. How do these people do this, And I'm like, they should go directly with me because I'm working on getting sponsored by different companies and things like that, which is way easier than the music industry getting endorsed in something. And we actually we're going to be in the international marketing for Koiki, which is the burn table that we own. So they want to use us because we're female. So it's just I'll take it. I'm not, I don't need to do whatever. And guys come into my shop too and start being oh, do you have this certification and this, and this? And I'm like, well, I'm not building a bridge, so I don't really need it.
Yeah, no doubt.
They're gonna calm down,
Yeah, don't put a 150-story building on my sculpting, but do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well,
right, it's creepy.
Back to one thing you said. How is your sister now?
She's good. She actually is. She's been in remission. We had a little bit of a flub. We thought that she had to do some radioactive treatment in the summer just to make sure that it was gone because her levels started to go up. But she had parotid gland cancer in 2012, and then she had through 2016 and 17 she had thyroid cancer twice. So her throat's kind of cut up. I always tell her it looks like a bad decapitation. They did a really good job though. So she's very humorous about it. My sister is the funniest person on the planet, and she's cool.
Well, I'll tell you this. This show has a very close connection to cancer, as both me and my wife, who's typically on the show, we've both lost our mothers to it. So, by God, if you guys ever do a run for cancer, we're here for you. The Pop Culture Bombcast will run in force because I think the only travesty of this episode is we didn't get to see you in person because you're awesome. And
well, thanks. I would love to come back whenever it's not.
We're doing it. So we'll do it. Well, how about the guitar? Let's talk about that real quick before we tie it all together because I think a guitar is a natural transition to a riff for a gift. So tell us about the music.
Well, the music is I've been playing since I was 12. My band is Candy Coated Evil. It was with my dad and my sister. Again, very close to my family, too close to my family, but it's a cool group. So we all get along. We're small, but we're furious. It's fun. And my sister plays bass. My dad plays drums. My dad actually was had a wedding band a long time ago. Came out of retirement to play Mississippi Nights with us when I was 18.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we had a band, for years. Well, when Sid got sick the last couple years, we kind of just took a hiatus, And she also cut one of her tendons too with a knife when she was making fudge. So she screwed everything up, and she had to take some time off. So I went out on my own. I played in a duo with Brad No for about a year, and then I went off on my own by myself. And then I started playing all the time. And I play. Everybody's always trying to get me to do Melissa Etheridge and Stevie Nicks.
Oh, don't ever do it. As a guy that bartended and bounced at a bar for a handful of years in the St. Louis area and has had to endure 4 karaoke nights a week, do not ever do Melissa Etheridge. And I love her. I love her music, but don't do it.
Yeah.
You sound like a tough chick, and I don't want you doing it because that's the cliche for tough chicks is to do those songs.
Wait, that's a tough chick cliche?
I do pretty much whatever I want. So it's just like I kind of go, from Tom Petty to Johnny Cash to, Alice Cooper, Rolling Stones, obviously. I kind of run all around there. And so I was writing my own stuff. I've been on Shane's show, before a couple of times. And then I actually just recently, you're lucky to be talking to me because I just had voice surgery.
Oh my gosh.
15th.
Well, you sound great, and I hope that's good. Keep that up.
My vocal cords kind of ruptured, so they ended up having to rebuild my voice box. I could talk for 9 days, which was the most insane 9 days of my entire life. And I went right back to work Tuesday. I put up like a barnwood wall and went and redid this event center the day after, but I couldn't talk to anybody, and it was infuriating because people talk louder and slower to you, even if you can't talk. Like I can hear you, but I can't talk. So it was a lot of whiteboard. And my sister and I she goes, I think our relationship's better now that you can't talk. I have to freaking talk. And
I'd feel that way if Jeremy lost his voice box.
Yeah, if I lost my voice, the other co-host here might actually enjoy the show better, but that's never going to happen because I'm tough as nails. So, hey, let's talk about that, though, because I had a feeling just by looking at your Facebook page and just by the fact of how you talked about music that I knew listen, I am never going to ever be embarrassed to say I miss a couple episodes of Shane's podcast every now and then because I think he's released 3 since he's been here. But I knew that probably was a connection, and I want to talk about the other connection while you're here because I know how Shane gets into things. I've known him long enough now. I know how I got a good idea how his mind works and how he likes to keep busy and pushing stuff. And really, I don't even think there's a person on this planet that less efforts to market themselves, but ends up marketing themselves so well than what Shane does. Because you push nothing but artists, you push singer-songwriters, you push local venues, but it just happenstance that you're the forefront and become the face of all these things you push, Shane. That's all you do. And so I want to talk about Riffs for Gifts, which is one of the reasons why you're on there, because you're definitely out pushing this, because it's your fundraiser for Toys for Tots, but I want to know about that, and I want to know how you guys got involved in it together, because I've got a feeling there's a story.
There is. The way that it went down was, so I have a bucket list I live by, okay, and people have seen parts of it on, as I check things off, it, kind of goes on Facebook. But anyway, it's very, very dear to me. Obviously, number 1 is meeting Keith Richards, but on there, number 15 was build, fabricate, work on a motorcycle. So I did the Sturgis thing this year, okay? So I crossed it off. I was really excited. I revealed the bike when we put it on the trailer to go to Sturgis. Right above it is arrange a Toys for Tots fundraiser, which I posted that part of my bucket list. And Shane sends me the screenshot of that and says, you want to do this? You want to join forces? And I want to do something like this. And so that's how it started. And, Shane and I've been sponsoring Shane's show since the summer or so, and that's just because I truly believe in what he does. It's just like he's so positive. He is so thorough. He does his research when he talks to somebody. We have a lot of very similar musical interests, a lot of similar music friends, and so I want to back him up now. I want to back him up all the way to where he's famous or owning his own rock joint somewhere in St. Louis, that kind of thing. So, so I start throwing money at him. It's not a whole hell of a lot, but it's enough to be like, hey, I really believe in this. So we're kind of we've been kind of on the same team for a while. So we decided to do this, and we talked about a coat drive. We talked about all this other stuff, and then I said, well, I want to do Toys for Tots. I really do, because my parents did one when they were real estate agents a long, long time ago when I was a kid. It was so cool. I had these pictures of my grandpa going into like the stores and buying all the toys with all the money and stuff. And it just, there's a nostalgia with it. And I don't have kids, none biological of my own, but like I really want to buy them. I just said this on Shane's show the other day that I want to buy the $90 remote control T-Rex. You know, I want to do that. You know, I want to be the one that buys that. You know, and I want to give this to a kid. You know, so so we started. So we went to the table and kind of were like, how do we do this? Well, obviously, Shane knows all the bands, and we started doing all that. And we and I'm pretty hardwired in the scene too, but through, you know, metal music, all this kind of stuff. Not as well as Shane is in that particular area, but we swing in the same circle. So. So this inception happened, and I mentioned Brad No earlier. I was sitting having a steak with him one night, and I said, "What the hell are we going to call this? You know, this is so." And he said, "I got it, Riff for Gifts." And so we talked about we're gonna take this further. We're gonna make it a non-for-profit beyond this, so that we can change who we donate to every year and try to make this an annual thing.
Yeah, I mean,
and,
I say that we'll go ahead and say it when I put it up, when I tag it on the Facebook. I'm going to call it the first annual Riffs for Gifts, period, because this is a great idea.
Yeah, that's kind of been the thing since we got it rolling. Like we were like, you know, we wanted it generic enough named where like we can make the gifts whatever it is. If it's, you know, if it's an animal shelter or coat drive, food drive, whatever the gift may be, but this year it's Toys for Tots. We want to get back to the neighborhood and help out.
Well, and I don't mean to demean. It's not demeaning at all, but I just want Toys for Tots is as easy as a fundraiser as you can do. So it's nothing that says you can't do two fundraisers in one thing. Like cover charge goes towards one fundraiser, and the toy donation goes towards the other. That, I mean, you got possibilities, and it's cool possibilities. Yep. And so. Pops was. How did Pops come in, and how did these bands come in? Because I know Shane, you.
That was Shane.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I've done a few different shows over the years now. A couple of the birthday shows, and I kind of wanted to build up this winter charity show and stuff, and so that's where all this kind of, you know, teamed up with Lexy and that. But I wanted it to be a rock show, and not all these bands are necessarily rock, but I wanted to do Pops, a big rock club and a big rock, you know, sound and everything there. So it kind of came together with this lineup, though. I just started reaching out to friends, and every one of them were like, yeah, we're in, man. Like, I told them all up front, it's for charity, there's no money and everything. They're all like, we don't care, we want to be a part of it. And
that's awesome.
So, yeah, it was really cool.
And I don't... This is definitely a compliment, but you're the most annoyingly selfless person that I know.
You make us look bad.
You like, I mean that. You like you just said, you just did it there, and you don't know, your own humility is impressive, because you go, well, I just did these birthday shows, and it wasn't to celebrate yourself. It was just because I know you. It was kind of to celebrate everyone that's ever been on the show, exactly. And those turned into a big deal. Yeah. And then it turned into your singer-songwriter, and it turns into like, oh, it turns out, wow, I didn't even mean to be a promoter, but that's what I do now. So that's what you do, and that's one of the great things about you. And maybe if as a pod, other than the fact that you can do 6 shows a day, the other thing that I'm jealous of is you get because listen, I've got 2 kids. And and I love my daughters, but they've really messed up our schedule in this last month, because it turns out, I mean, I played a lot of sports. My wife played a lot of sports. It turns out both my daughters are really good at sports, and that sucks, because that sucks most of my time up. But it makes me proud too. But what annoys,
that was a humble brag of humble brags right there.
But what's I'm good at it. I'm good at it. But what is the most envious of all the things you do is because of the time you can give to your podcast, and more importantly, these things, you get to meet cool people like Lexy. Oh, yeah. And, you know, a follower of both shows, Steve Ewing, and guys that we've idolized and guys we know. In fact, off air, I got a good story for you about another musician that I met recently that I name-dropped you. I name-dropped Shane. That's what I'm saying. I name-dropped Shane. Who the hell gets name-dropped because of a podcast outside of the big names in the world? So... but no, it sounds awesome, and I 100% think that we want you. We want not. I'm not in. We don't even have to be in studio. We can meet somewhere and set up, like, because hey, look, we're a Gorilla Podcast just like Shane, except he's just a Gorilla Podcast all the time, and we're lazy, so we have our own studio. So, but no, having you in person would be a blast, because you seem awesome. You've got maybe one of the most unique stories I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And you clearly kind of share that same selflessness that Shane does, because you're devoting a lot of time and sponsoring not just the show but this event, and which is for a great cause. And it's kind of, we're going to do this whole episode, it's going to be a toy theme episode just in honor of this, and we're going to push the shit out of this going forward because we love Shane too. So yeah, man, I'm so glad you called in, for one. And Tom, what do you think?
I'm glad we were able to pull off having somebody call the show.
Feel like a professional?
I kind of do. I kind of feel a little bit like a professional.
So I'll tell you this, and if you've got more, we'll keep you on for as long as you can. But you just had vocal surgery, so we're gonna probably nerd out over toys here in a little bit. So you can either stay on and enjoy that, or you come back on in the future and you get some rest for that throat and that voice right now.
It's whatever. I'm pretty much back in action, so it is what it is. So I'm good to go. I just can't sing till December, which is really funny because I started booking shows already. People were trying to book me and stuff, and I was like, well, I guess it's they're like, oh, December 14th good, and I'm thinking, yeah, I think so. That should work.
Play it by ear, but yes, I'm there. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, one of the things we do on this show, Lexy, is that we tend to ramble about any and everything that is pop culture. And every time Shane comes on the show, it's always and we always have there's a reason, like for Riffs for Gifts or anything. It's a pointed reason why we're on the show or what have you, which is always great, because that's why we have all these shows. That's why we make these connections. But what we typically do is we just ramble about stuff. And you can't see my studio, but I am a ginormous kid. What you don't see is behind Shane is a wall full of comic books and toys, and a $180 Lego Voltron that I have yet to put together, but I will soon, because that's what I do. When I had daughters, there was a small part of everyone that's like, oh, you wanted boys? Turns out I got tomboys. I don't care. It worked out for me. I got Legos all over this house, and none of the girl kind, which is okay if they wanted them. But I got superhero Legos, and that plays right into my wheelhouse. But
That's awesome.
so one of the things that, and you chime in, because sometimes when we get going in this stuff, we will definitely overpower a conversation. My wife can vouch for that.
Just you do that, actually.
Yeah, just me and Bender to a lesser extent. But I wanted to bring up keeping the toy theme. I just wanted to ask you guys. And this fits at the whole motif of this episode. Every year, we always on the show talk about, debate, and piss Tom off about all the hip hop artists in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which he calls the Pop Culture Hall of Fame.
Right.
No, it's the Pop Music Hall of Fame.
Music
That's
Hall-
what
yeah,
it
Pop
is,
Music
and that's
Hall.
totally fine. It is not a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You have LL Cool J in there.
Calm down, big fella. It's okay. I get it. But
I feel you on that for sure. Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you guys, and I feel like we can argue over this. Actually, I think we'll all be on the same page, because we all seem about reasonably minded people. There's another pretty impressive Hall of Fame out there, and they just announced this year's inductees, and that's the Toy Hall of Fame.
All right, here we go.
I don't know if you guys saw, but this year's Toy Hall of Fame featured 3 new inductees.
Okay.
I think it's a good list. It's a pretty big one. These are MVPs. One is Uno.
Yeah.
Everybody's
absolutely.
played Uno. I don't know if you've played Uno recently, but there's a lot of game variations that they throw into the box for you, like pass a hand and stuff.
I do feel like half Uno games end with, I have too many cards, fuck this, let's play something else.
That's also Monopoly. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The second inductee would be the Magic 8 Ball. Actually, they just call it the 8 Ball, so I think there's some kind of discrimination against Magic in the Toy Hall of Fame. I don't know what their beef is with Harry Potter, but the Magic 8 Ball on my show...
Definitely should have been in there. That was that a first ballot, or that had to wait for a while?
I don't know. I
Did
feel
the
like-
Veterans Committee have to get this 8 ball in there?
Well, hold your horses, because Pinball also made it.
Just in
Wow.
general.
Okay.
Now, I see the look on your face. You're like, pinball, that's a video game. But if you remember, especially throughout the 80s, when I was a kid, and 70s even, little at-home pinball machines
I had one.
Those were the jam. I had a lot
I'm
of
okay
those.
with this. Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked it up. I was like, well, I researched the Toy Hall of Fame, because that's what you do on a snowy day like today.
Isn't the Toy Hall of Fame in St. Louis?
Oh, God, I did not look that far.
I think it might be. I think it's
un-
down there by Broadway Oyster Bar.
No, Shane would know that. That's the Bowling Hall of Fame.
The Bowling Hall of Fame isn't here anymore.
Oh. What did we lose that? We
lost that when they built Ballpark Village. Yeah.
We have the Chess Hall of Fame here. And
We
do have that. We do have that. Well, let's talk about. I want to talk about some notable oddities that's in the Hall of Fame and some snubs. And I want to hear you guys.
It's in Rochester, New York. I apologize.
That is not St. Louis, Missouri. They don't have one arch in New York. They have a Statue of Liberty.
I've been to Rochester, New York. That place sucks.
Well, there goes our one listener in Rochester. I hope you didn't have any listeners in Rochester by association.
Nobody lives in Rochester anymore because Kodak was from there, and nobody works at Kodak anymore because everybody has iPhones. Fun fact that you probably don't give a shit about.
I think Kodak's good. Go to a camera store. You'll see Kodak all over those sons of
Yeah,
bitches.
but I mean, like Kodak, 30 years ago was a Fortune 500 company.
Now they're a fortune.
God, we've gone off the rails.
Yeah, we have. Hey, but here's some. I want to. This is the oddities that are in the Toy Hall of Fame.
Oh, St. Louis has a toy museum.
Oh, there you go.
Totally crazy.
Everybody has a toy museum. You drive down the old historic Route 66, you'll probably hit 18 of those sons of bitches on your way to California.
Hey, we got the Beef Jerky, Missouri.
beef jerky, Missouri.
It's a Hall of Fame, I'm sure.
It's Beef Jerky, Missouri.
Yep.
Like a town named after beef jerky.
Yep.
I've lived there.
Kingdom City, Missouri has the Beef Jerky Hall of Fame.
Beef. What's the school mascot for Beef Jerky, Missouri? Is it the Slim Jims?
It should be.
And their mascot dresses up like Macho Man.
Clearly it's a Sasquatch from.
That's even better. All right, so here's some oddities that are in the Toy Hall of Fame, and these are great. Stick is in the Toy Hall of Fame. Stick.
Like a stick?
Like a fucking stick.
I'm okay with it.
You allow it?
I'm allowed.
Because Blanket is in the Toy Hall of Fame?
There's a lot of imagination things. Linus, that was his go-to.
You got me on Linus, but then ball, like not golf ball, softball, basketball, ball. Ball is in the toy. Why not put cardboard box? That's
it
one
should be. I agree.
It's not. I looked.
Right.
But so stick, blanket, and ball gets in there. But here's some snubs. And
Dildo? Is that a snub?
Dildo's not in the Toy Hall of Fame.
I mean, you got stick in there for God's sake.
Well, I don't
toy is a very loose word, apparently.
It's a broad term. How about Nerf? Nerf is not in the Toy Hall of Fame yet.
Huh.
What?
It's like a Nerf gun, isn't it?
Nerf started as a Nerf ball, if you remember.
Well, ball clearly, as we've already seen, is in the Hall of Fame, so I think they're in there by proxy.
Doesn't specify Nerf ball. Cabbage Patch Kids have not made the Toy Hall of Fame.
Okay, now that's crappy.
I'd argue maybe the most crazy popular toy of all time, the original crazy toy.
Yeah, you may see them coming back later in this episode.
There's a lot of board games in the Hall of Fame, but Operation is not one of them. Who didn't have Operation as a kid?
I didn't have Operation as a kid.
God.
That explains a lot about you. Slip and Slide. I feel like Slip and Slide should be in the Toy Hall of Fame.
Well, Slip and Slide should be in the terrible MCL, ACL Terror Hall of Fame. I was in college one time. We had a slip and slide, and I saw some kid just fucking blow his knee out.
It should be up there with Yard Darts as the bad idea Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last...
Whoa, hold on. I feel like I need to say, you run, you jump, something like that.
I don't know.
You take a fall, then
we're going to let you
slide.
keep going. We have a musician and a noted fan of music on the show, but you keep singing.
I think there was a comedian that had some joke about that they wouldn't check for rocks and stuff in the yard before they put the slip and slide down.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like the slip and bleed from the anus or something like that.
When I moved away from the mighty metropolis of Springfield, Mo, to the St. Louis area, we had a goodbye party for me and another couple of friends that were also moving, and we put up double slip and slides, and we ended up just going mud. And I'm not ashamed to say this. It turned into a naked slip and slide party, and we were at that point in my life, we were too old for that.
Okay.
I mean, 30.
I had to look this up. It was Crocodile Mile.
You run, you slide,
yes!
you hit the bump, and take a dive.
That's what I was going with.
I know what you're talking about.
Is everybody else know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
My Little Pony, not in the Toy Hall of Fame.
Okay, that's crap too. But My Little Pony smelled.
They had, they did. They
did.
smelled like a powdery plastic.
I dated a girl who had a collection, and it was just weird.
Can I ask how old?
I was in college, 24, and she had 5 Rainbow Brights in her bedroom.
The smell was not the weird. The smell was not the weird part of that story.
I'm just telling you, they smell like plastic, scented plastic.
I think they were supposed to.
I think
apple bottom or
I'm
whatever.
sure
and
people
those
like
are
it.
jeans. That's like
Yeah,
that's
they
like
have
jeans from hip hop. That's
Yes.
not a My Little Pony.
Oh yeah, Apple Bottom, the My Little Pony. And she had boots with fur. Let me tell you.
She hit the flow. And here's the one that really pisses me off. He-Man is not in the Toy Hall of Fame.
I have problems with He-Man.
Well, despite the ambiguity,
There's no ambiguity.
He-Man was awesome.
No, Prince Adam was very effeminate, and then when he grabbed his sword, his clothes magically came off, and then he wanted to.
Turned to a badass barbarian dude.
He rode things.
Yeah, Battle Cat. Not his buddy Man at Arms, Battle Cat. There was a guy named Fisto in it. That's pretty.
He-Man, you're coming
That's a
with
little.
no clothes again.
The only reason I say it's not ambiguous is because Fisto's a little too on the nose. So you're not trying to trick anybody. So of course it's.
I
just
think
manly.
He-Man also, Masters of the Universe is the first time I remember going to a movie theater, like, excited, and then watching the movie and being like, what the fuck did I just see? And I was like 8.
I was like 13 and loved it. Loved it. I was a teenager. I was like, "This is the." I went home and played He-Man when I was done.
You were
So I
13,
might have
you were
been
playing-
I might have been 10. I don't know. We have to look that up. Let's see if your ages are accurate. So,
I'm saying Masters of the Universe came out in 1990.
by the way, Courtney Cox feature film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Bruce Springsteen and Dolph Lundgren put her on the map.
Yeah. That's it. So Toy Hall of Fame. Would you visit it if it was in St. Louis? Would you go to the Toy Hall of Fame?
Sure. I got kids.
Yeah, I would.
Did you?
I was wrong. 87.
Yeah, so I would have been 10. Yeah, I still was pretending to beat up ninjas and stuff in my backyard at that point in life. So yeah. What about I got to tell you, I did not grow up upper middle class. I didn't even grow up lower middle class. Well, I mean, we were pretty close to dirt poor, but for some reason, and I know what it was because my mom was pretty good at selling weed. I had a lot of great toys at Christmas time, and I would come downstairs every Christmas morning, and not only did I have the toys that she got me, but she'd set them up. Like, I'd have Castle Grayskull, and all the He-Man were set up around it. Santa Claus knew what he was doing at my house. But, so I had great childhoods. I remember getting Nintendo when it was, like, brand new. And same year, I got Couch Potato, maybe my favorite stuffed animal of all time. If you guys don't.
Potato? No, I remember that one.
They were oversized potatoes with a real potato sack that came on them. Mine was called Spuddy Buddy. And I loved him. And I loved him. And if I could find one today, I would fucking buy it. But it had to have blue eyes because that was a tough one to find. And I would call him Spuddy Buddy too. So
That's adorable.
Yeah.
I hope your daughters listen to this so they can try to find it on Amazon.
I'm going to put it on my
eBay.
Christmas list when we're done. But so we all are, whether it's art, whether it's your love of musicals, Tom, or whether it's just podcasting music in general, we all have enough loves that I got a feeling when we were kids we had a pretty healthy imagination in a childhood. But so I want to hear, I'm going to start with Lexy because ladies first. As far as you can remember, what was your favorite childhood memory of toys growing up? Like Christmas time.
Man.
Like, what was that one thing when you came downstairs in Christmas and you opened up and you go, I don't give a shit if it's Mom, Dad, Santa, you guys rock because this is the greatest Christmas ever.
I was about, I guess I was like 13, 12 or 13. It would have been, they got me a double neck SG guitar. And it was
wow.
It was just like Jimmy Page's. So that was the Christmas I cried. That was the good one.
So when I sat down to type up, I always kind of sometimes I type up a loose script on how the episode's going to go just so I don't miss my points. And after seeing your Facebook page, because I always check that out with the guests, I was like, Lexi's going to tell me about a guitar when I ask this question. That's what she's going to do. I looked at it and...
Funny. That's funny that you said that because I was thinking about it earlier and it just hit me now that it would be that one because I was originally thinking about all the Barbies I had. I had a Sabrina the Teenage Witch Barbie that I loved. Like that was like I went through that. I wanted that super bad. But the one toy I can remember on Christmas mornings that was not even mine. It was Sid's, my sister. It was the creepy crawler machine. I remember.
I remember those.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. You made those things? Yeah.
Oh God, I remember the smell of the like rubber and the metal and everything in it, and like my parents is collateral. Like to be even, they got me the Easy Bake Oven because I was the Maryland Munster of the group.
Oh wow,
so they're like you're the normal one. We'll get you the Easy Bake Oven.
You could cook a brownie over in 3.5 hours of a 60-watt light bulb.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, this is bullshit, But it was Sid's creepy crawler machine that like I remember the most about. Like it's so funny. I was like I said, Shane mentioned about thinking about toys that we had when we were kids and stuff, and I was like, man, I remember all of Sid's.
Oh, that's jealousy. That's sibling jealousy, right?
So
there.
is she younger than you?
It is. Yeah, she's 18 months younger than me. So
Okay.
I'm 30 and she's 28.
Ooh, but
so
that's close
she's,
enough though to where you guys are not just the same generation, but you guys experience a lot of the same things very close together. That makes them even more annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were, but it was funny because Sydney was such a, I don't want to say I was like girly girl, but it was like I liked Barbies and Sid liked Hot Wheels, and so that's why I got the Easy Bake Oven. That's why she got creepy crawlers, so it was like, but we would play with all of it, and then once we got into music, it was like it became music equipment and concert tickets and stuff like that. And Sid was a game person, so she'd get like Nintendo 64, and then she'd get the the freaking Xboxes and the PlayStations and all that jazz, and I wasn't into that.
So that guitar you got, was it the fact that it was, a good guitar, one, but was it because it was Jimmy Page's guitar? Was that?
No, I was, God, I gotta admit this. The reason why I was, the first concert I really went to that I really got into music was Bon Jovi. I'll be honest.
It's a pretty fun concert.
Whoa. Don't disparage the good name of John Bon Jovi on here.
The Badger beside me is a massive fan of the 80s, so you're playing right into his wheelhouse.
No, I'm a huge 80s fan. So and what's so funny is that the year that I was in love with Bon Jovi, he had turned 40. This is he started my love for older men. So I was 12 years old and I'm totally in love with him. And people would be like, well, who's Bon Jovi? And I'm like, ask your mother. She'll know,
Have you heard Bed of Roses?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was Bed of Roses era Bon Jovi. You discovered him in his twilight. But I got to tell you what, that guy's twilight has gone on for 25 years because he's still going strong.
I know, it's crazy. So Richie was my guy. And it was funny because my parents got us, it was second row, to the side. But, I was far enough back. And somebody had dropped one of Richie Sambora's picks. And so when we were walking out, my dad saw it and grabbed it. And so I was, totally in love with this. And then 6 months later, my parents got me front row tickets for Bon Jovi at Tweeter Center in Chicago. And he held my hand. He reached down and sang to me.
So would you say he laid his hands on you?
You know it. And I was like... And he sang Born to Be My Baby, which is one of my outlaws.
Oh, man. That's a highway to your heart right there.
Now, did you go to bed every night and think, I'm going to fucking kill you, Heather Locklear, somehow, some way?
No, right. They got divorced anyway, so it don't matter.
Yeah, because
that was kind of recently, right? The last 5 years?
No, it was longer than that.
Was it?
Because we haven't met in person, and because I can't see your face when I say this, I'm going to hold off on the joke that making the Slippery When Wet album name.
Oh, come on now. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Just got to hold off on it. No, I'm not saying it. I'm letting you know I'm not saying that joke. That's what I'm doing here. I'm being the bigger man.
No, that joke was living on a prayer. Let me tell you.
Hey, all right. Well, so Shane, since you are guest numero 2, because, man, I got to tell you what. Lexy's a bit tough. She forced you into the back seat on this podcast. I hope you're comfortable with that. I know you're used to being forefront, but
I'll take it.
What's your favorite childhood memory?
I was thinking a lot about this, and I don't know. I think we definitely had a lot of different toys. Parents took care of us pretty well on Christmas Day and things. Again, like you were saying, Jeremy, we kind of grew up, pretty humble, but Dad worked his ass off to get us some nice things when it came to it. A lot of times, even later on, it was motorcycles and different things. But I remember when I was a kid, one of the most iconic things that still pops in my mind was, and again, it ties all together, probably where it all kind of started, but music. And I remember getting Pearl Jam's Vitology album and Aerosmith's Greatest Hits, both on CD that year. And those were pretty huge for me.
You're certainly dating me by saying what that Vitology, like, oh yeah, I remember being in college when Vitology.
Well, I mean, and this was like, this.
You could say it. You were still young.
I was,
Shane.
I was young, but
I'm old.
Was your heart an open book?
But those were definitely big ones that stood out. But I think like probably the most obviously like Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 were probably the ones that like we probably got the most use out of.
Yeah, well, there is no shame, and I feel like there's probably a small bit of privilege that people think when they list a video game as their favorite. But man, especially those Super Nintendo days and stuff, that was a big deal. Those were awesome.
I remember getting the Super Scope with it also.
Oh yeah, me too. Battle Clash. That was the game that came with it, where you shot the robots.
Oh, yeah.
The other person could take the controller and do it.
Well, and then my brother, I'd kick his ass, and then he would throw the remote at me. So like that was a big part of my childhood for sure.
My brother is 6 years older than me, and maybe the meanest, strongest person I know. So, and I'm a big guy. But I mean, there was 41 years of getting his ass kicked by his big brother. I mean, he just I feel your pain there. Yeah. What about you, Thomas?
Well, I did not grow up like you gentlemen here.
Yeah, he was a private school, Central West End yuppie.
Central West End? West County.
West County, sorry. West County.
I wish I grew up in Central West End. I had a lot more money, probably.
Yeah, West County, still. He lived close to the fire, but not in the fire.
So I don't really have any good Christmas memories because my parents are terrible at getting gifts. But one that sticks out
I also
is...
could see that. I've seen the love that you guys
My
share.
mom just said she's buying presents for the grandkids this year. I'm like, oh, jeez, my kids are getting fucking screwed. So one year, my mom is very, very Catholic, as those who listen to the show
Yeah,
now.
you're the most Catholic person on this show.
And I remember, like, when Mortal Kombat came out on Sega and Super Nintendo, she would be talking to me about, like, oh, this Mortal Kombat game, there's just so much blood. I just hear it's so terrible. I'm like, yeah, I guess.
I just had this conversation with my daughter because we saw one of those 60 games in one.
Yeah.
And it was the Sega Genesis, and now it's no big deal. But I said, Hayden, that's the first bloody game ever made.
Yeah.
For Sega, not Super. You had to get a special code in order to unlock it.
Yeah, get a
on the
special
Super.
code. Yeah, but for Sega, it was, free game. And I'm just not I've never been a big fighting game. I like sports games and RPGs. That's always been the two in my wheelhouse. And my mom kept on bringing up this game, like, oh, I just think it's terrible. Kids are playing this. I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess. Yeah. And then, like, Christmas morning came, and I got Mortal Kombat, and she's, like, giving me the thumbs up, like, I'm the cool mom. Like,
she's like, swerve.
Okay. It was a big-time swerve. I was like, okay. I mean, and Mortal Kombat is probably the best fighting game of all time, the original
it's up
one.
There.
I mean, as far as
I think Street Fighter 2 Alpha has a little bit of bone to pick
maybe
with
to be
you.
more fun, or Tekken 3 or whatever, but, like, Mortal Kombat is so iconic.
Yeah.
And I, lots of fun memories playing it. But I just remember my mom being like over the moon excited to give me this gift of her swerve. I'm like, okay.
I know Lexi's.
I know you don't like Blood Mom, but I can also make Wayne Gretzky's head bleed in NHL '94.
Oh man, that was so good. And one of my favorite moments from the movie Swingers. But
hey, look, Mikey.
I know Lexi's new to our show, but
yeah, we'll never listen
a
to
good chunk of our listeners have probably thought, man, there's a peek inside of why Tom is the way he is. The captain of Too Soon. Kind of the most, seemingly, deceptively, the most heartless person on the show.
Probably.
His mom swerves him, and in the morning gets him this game, which she thought she did the greatest thing in the world. And he's like, yeah, great job, Mom. What a dick. He's like, couldn't say, Mom, you're cool. No, couldn't give it to her.
I'll never give anybody credit, even if I think secretly. That was awesome.
So Tom, if he secretly thinks you did good, he just hates you more.
They've one-upped me, them sons of bitches.
I'll tell you this: of all the gifts I got the God, I don't even remember what it was called. The battle tank from Thundercats with all the Thundercats, the original wave, one year.
Yeah, you're definitely dating yourself now.
I know. I also got.
How have they not made like a live-action Thundercats movie?
I also got Castle Grayskull with a lot of the He-Man, and they were all set up. I got a lot. But what I liked the most as a kid was the WWF at the time, which they did not kick the F out yet, was it was almost like a 2 foot by 2 foot ring because it wasn't the plastic one. It was the rubber 10-inch guys that you couldn't pose.
Yeah, no,
that was their original toys.
The mid-'80s ones, yeah.
They weighed about 13 pounds apiece.
Yep.
And one of the cool things was if you had your buddy hold down the other end of the ring, you could take them and put their feet on the 3 ropes and pull it back and shoot those fuckers 40 feet across the room. And made for the best time. And it was big enough that when I went to a friend's house, I would wear the ring like a backpack and just carry the wrestlers in a bag on my best toy I ever had.
That and the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier, like the 2 toys, like I knew
the
people
USS
that had.
flag.
I was like so jealous of.
So I used to be the V-Stock, which is a chain up here. I don't mind saying it now because the guys that owned it when I worked there don't own it anymore. But I was the an ops manager with them and a store manager, and then I opened my own hobby shop called Culture Shock for a while. And we bought, sold, and traded new and used toys. So in my life, I probably got in and sold 10 flags, USS flags.
Yeah.
The G.I. Joe. It's 6.5 feet long, 7 feet long, just I think tip to tip. And the cheapest one I sold was maybe 35-40% put together, about $150. The most expensive one I ever sold was $1,000 because it was 100% put together.
Wow.
Yeah, $1,000.
Well, like the one that
no
was
box.
35%, were those pieces like just missing?
Yeah.
Okay, like the stickers were gone and all that stuff.
Yeah, but you could go on eBay and buy the loose pieces, so it was still valuable to people. I sold every one I ever got, and I tell you this. I don't remember as a kid how hard it was to put together, but I can tell you as an adult, it's about 3.5 hours. It takes a while, especially with no instructions. You're just winging it. Watching YouTube videos.
Freaking awesome.
I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I had a buddy that had that as a kid.
Is there like a girl toy equivalent to like that?
Lexy, is there a girl toy equivalent to the USS flag from G.I. Joe?
I don't think so. I'm trying to think.
Like a Barbie super mansion?
I mean this with all due respect. That's why boys rock.
No, I don't know.
Well, and also because
like the RV.
Oh, yeah. Well, how about the Barbie Dream House? That was a big one.
Yeah.
That was one. Yeah. They did have that. I didn't have that.
I had a small cousin, so I'm a child of divorce. That's why I need so much attention, and I created a podcast. So I used to go to my father's house, on the weekends, which was my aunt's house, and I had a small cousin, and I'm not ashamed to say this. She was 5 years younger than me, I think. So my aunt she did everything for me. She took me to movies. We went and saw the first Batman in theaters. I mean, for a kid that had a whole bunch of people in his life that were broke as fuck, I got to do a lot of cool things. But my trade-off was that I played with my cousin while my aunt worked down at the 7-Eleven overnight and stuff, because, hell, I was 10, I could babysit overnight, but I would play Barbies with her, and she had the Barbie townhouse. And that was a big deal. I even thought, it's got an elevator. It's pretty cool. And her mom sewed me, like, karate suits for Ken, so Ken could whoop some shit while dating Barbie. In fact, he would win her affection by kicking ass for the imposter kid. Looked a lot alike, but they fought all the time.
So who wants to play a game?
My friend had the Barbie drive-through, it was like a McDonald's or a drive-through thing, and it had a headset. And I was so
remember that.
Green with envy. I was so green with envy about that. My friend Katie, the longest person I've known in my life, and I go over there just to play with the damn thing, and then I would ask my parents, I was like, "Can you find this?" I need it in my life, They never did. But,
all right. Well, we're going to shotgun through one more segment, and then Tom's got a quiz for us, a quick quiz. But I want to shotgun real quick, and I'm going to start with you, Lexy. So we just talked about the best toy. Do you have a memory where you opened up a present and you were like, fuck, my parents suck?
The worst toy?
Yeah, the worst gift. Don't say toy because mine's not a toy. So, and I don't want to ruin it, but it's not a toy. It might have supposed to have been a toy, but it wasn't. But the worst memory you get, everybody says socks. That's cliche.
Yeah.
But there's something you open, you're like, oh, that's great, and you moved on.
No, I can't. I really can't think of anything. They were so on point forever. I mean,
This is why Lexi's cool. Her parents were awesome. They play music with her. They support her in her metalworking. You maybe have the greatest parents we've ever talked about on the show.
The bar is kind of low.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, that is like being valedictorian at summer school with our podcast, but still, your parents rock. So, Shane, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was gonna say clothes is always the one that says you're expecting something really cool toy, and you open up the box, and then it's just a shirt that mom picked out last week before or whatever it is, and but. Yeah, other than that, I can't think of a bad gift besides the disappointment of opening up and finding clothes.
You guys had awesome childhoods.
Yeah.
Tom?
So I'm going to date you all a little bit. So when I was 16,
We refuse your date. You just have to go out by yourself.
Yeah. When I was 16, I had only 3 things I put in my Christmas gift. I put a pager,
Yeah, that's awesome.
a bass guitar, and then a new stereo.
Oh, if you'd have got that bass guitar, you could have been in a band with Lexy, and who knows how the world would have turned out.
I ended up getting the bass guitar later, but I never got good at it. But anyway, so I opened up all my Christmas gifts, and now to preface the story, I was going to go on a skiing trip with friends for spring break, but by Thanksgiving, I told my parents I don't think it's going to work out. I don't really have the money for it, and I'm going to stay home. So my parents were giving me all these winter ski clothes. I'm I told you a month ago, I'm not going on this trip. So I open up all my presents. I'm kind of fuming a little bit. I'm like, oh God, this kind of sucks, but whatever. I'll make do. And my dad goes, hey, I got one more present for you in the closet. I'm like, oh, he's probably got the stereo back there. He couldn't wrap it or was too lazy or whatever. And he comes back with a winter coat. I just walked right by him. I'm like, I'll be upstairs.
Wow.
And
they
walked out on
bought you
Christmas.
that trip.
No, they didn't buy me the trip. They just bought me clothes for it.
Oh,
But I had to pay for the trip.
I thought this was going to end that they got there was a ticket in the
Oh,
pocket.
no. No.
That is a bad story. I feel bad for you now.
Oh, yeah, and that was kind of where Lexy was talking about. My brother was 3 years younger than me, and he was getting a PlayStation that Christmas. And
He's taller and better looking.
He is also taller and better looking than me. And he got the Lego monorail. I'm like, damn, it's the greatest Christmas ever. Son of a bitch.
I should have asked his brother to be on the podcast instead of Tom. I'll tell you my bad gift, and I think I've talked about it on the podcast probably around Christmas. I had a grandmother that had dementia long before we ever realized that she had dementia, and I think around my 8th birthday, it was Atari was still a thing. All I wanted was fucking Pac-Man, man. I just wanted Pac-Man, and I opened up a box. And I'll be damned if she didn't get me pantyhose for Christmas. Pantyhose. And I started crying. And my great-grandma said, will they not fit? And so pantyhose are by far the most...
Well, I think what she wanted was you to put it on your face so you could go rob a toy store and get that Pac-Man.
No, Grandma had a tendency to back out of our driveway right into the house across the street. She was... Grandma bought a Chrysler LeBaron one year.
Yeah.
Great-grandma, mind you. And she wouldn't drive it we never could get her to come out at night, and we asked her why. It's because she bought a car with no headlights. She did not realize that they popped up when you turned the light on.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Great-grandma Karen was... I used to answer the phone when she'd call. I'd say, hey, is Bob there? And she'd go, nope, hang up. Because Grandma was going to keep you on the phone for an hour. She was rough. Pantyhose. 8 years old.
It reminds me of Home Alone whenever they wrap the cat and stuff. And, or Jell-O or whatever.
Oh, no, that's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Other Christmas classic, sorry.
No, it's great. Hey, we're that time of year.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. So one of the other things we do on here, Lindsay, and we're going to give you first chance at this. I'm calling it right now because on the phone it's kind of hard for you to be just chime in and shut us up. But Tom brings quizzes to the table. So we're going to do a real quick toy quiz before we wrap up here today. And take it away, Tom.
All right. Would you like to play a game? I feel like I need to have my own little theme song for my
I think we're past Halloween. Jigsaw.
All right. Here's the deal. I'm going to give you the year. You tell me the toy that was the highest selling toy that year.
All right.
First to 3 points wins.
First to 3 wins.
All right. Lexi. 1998.
Furby.
That is correct.
Whoa.
Wow. Right out of the gate.
Whoa. I've got competition. I typically win these things, but I'm shaking in my shoes.
That was
right
pretty
now.
impressive. All right, Jeremy.
All right.
2005.
2005. Hatchimal.
That is incorrect. Would anybody like to steal?
We'll start with Shane.
Jeez.
No, Jesus was not an answer.
No idea. I don't know. Sorry.
Lexi?
You said 2005?
Correct.
Okay, so I would have been 16, so that would have been...
Well, we don't have to ask her age now. We can do the math.
16-ish. God dang, 16, 17 years old. What would it have been? It wouldn't have been... Okay, they would have been kids. Good God, I have no idea. I don't know.
Xbox 360.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I had one.
Console, okay.
I had one. All right, so let's go to the next one.
Shane, 1984.
Oh, 1984.
I was -1.
So that year, all his parents wanted for Christmas was Shane.
I don't know.
Dude, say Pet Rock. Put your balls out.
Yeah. I was going to say Atari is the first thing that came to mind. I don't know if that's...
It's not Atari.
trying to figure out what year that
I will acquiesce to Lexi.
Pong?
Not Pong.
I'm going to say Cabbage Patch Kid.
That is incorrect. Transformers.
Oh, Transformers were so awesome. Was I literally 7 years old when I had my first Optimus Prime?
I believe you might have been.
That's awesome.
Autobots, roll out.
Maybe we should go first to 2.
I think you guys may be able to get this one. Lexi, 1996.
I graduated from high school that year.
Should we do hints yet, or should we wait like another round?
No, go ahead. I think we'll do. If we don't get it this round, we'll go to hints. So,
Okay.
Lexi, 1996.
It would be Gigapet.
Not Gigapet.
Does it go to me? Mm-hmm. Tickle Me Elmo?
Correct.
Man, I worked at Walmart that year. I worked overnight during the Christmas season, and because I was a big football player type guy, I had to my whole job was to make sure people didn't come and raid the toy people as they were setting up stuff. Tickle Me Elmo was amazing at that time period.
All right, Jeremy. This is a more recent one.
Back to me, huh?
2016.
Oh, 2016. I got kids. 2016. Furby.
We already had Furby like 10 years ago.
Oh, was that it? No. Okay, maybe Hatchimal. I don't know.
No,
No,
not
I'm
Hatchimals.
out. Shane?
Oh, jeez.
No,
I'll give
Jesus
Shane.
is not an answer.
I'll give Shane a hint. It is not a traditional toy for a kid.
I'm not...
Oh, cyanide. Cyanide was big in
It was
2016.
big, it was big that year,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. No idea, guys. Sorry, I'm terrible at this quiz.
Nah, it's
That's
fine.
all right.
This happens a lot in our quizzes.
Lexi, you have any guesses?
Is it the Fidget Spinner?
It is not. It was the NES Classic Mini.
Oh, I remember that. Why didn't I get that? I just didn't think it was that big. I guess it was. All right, it's Shane's turn.
All right, Shane.
Now we get one hint for the original person.
Shane,
Big money and whammies.
1993.
Oh, that was a Press Your Luck reference from Shane. So he knows. He knows.
Shane, I'll give you a hint. You referenced this movie about 5 minutes ago. The sequel that spawned this toy being very
What
popular.
year was it?
1993.
Is that the Sony Walkman?
I'll
or
give
not
it-
Walkman? Talk Boy.
Talk Boy is
There it is.
correct.
Oh, from Home
Or was
Alone.
it, well, I don't, it
Oh.
wasn't even Sony. It was Tiger, wasn't it? Or something like that. Like
I remember that.
something like that. It was the
It had the little weird
It
little
says
mic.
Hasbro in the single. No, Hasbro and
Yeah.
Tiger may have been connected. All right, so do we have a score here?
It is all knotted at one. I just say next points wins, and then we'll do our last throw
Talk
it to
about
misses
killing
segment.
a segment. All right, Lexi, I'll let you pick the year. Starting from, let's see, what was it? 83 on. You pick the year, and I'll say the toy. Or you,
You'll make her guess.
yeah, make a guess. Yeah,
Okay, so just pick a year.
you
Yeah.
pick a year.
Let's do 97.
97.
It was a good year for me.
Okay, 97. Got it up.
I'm trying to think of what was in 97. Would have been. God, why was not the Gigapet not a thing? Like, that was, because, I mean, we all had one. Jesus, it had to be 97. But, I should have picked a Pokemon year, damn it. That would have been 2000-ish, 99-ish.
Yeah, I think you've been right in the wheelhouse of 99 on that one.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I got nothing.
So, 97.
You don't want to make a guess.
Yeah, you just throw one.
Maybe
toy.
not something you've referenced like 5 times.
Oh.
Something I referenced 5 times?
Mm-hmm.
Now he threw me for a loop. Oh.
Other than the fucking Gigapet that I
It is the Gigapet!
No way.
All right, on a score 2-1 to 1, Lexy cleans up on Gigapets. So that's
No way.
Yeah. All right, so our last segment we always do on this show is what we call the Throw It to Missy segment. And Lexy, the reason we call it Throw It to Missy, Missy is my wife, and she never, ever brings anything to the show. In fact, we're a drinking game when you're at home. If Missy brings something to the table, you at home have to chug your drink if she does. So that's how infrequent it happens. But since she's not here, let's close with Throw It to Missy. And on this segment, this is quick hits, anything you think of. And, of course, you and Shane, I would love for you in this segment to just reference anywhere people can find you guys. And the show Risk for Gifts again. So take it away, woman.
Okay. So it's just a spiel over
Whatever spiel you want. Hey, look, if you've got something on the top of your head that's been needling at you all day, this is a time for it.
No, so this is my not that I honestly easiest way to find like my metal shop or whatever, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, HVS Metalwork, and we've got a website, it's hvsmetalworksart.com. I'll be out playing music again December-ish I'll be on both sides of the river. I play a lot of Big Daddies on the Landing, and a bunch of places over here on the Illinois side. And I really, really hope to see a bunch of people out there for Riffs for Gifts. I mean, if anybody that wants to donate outside of it, like if they want to just, bring toys, we will meet you. If you want to do cash donations, we're going to take credit cards the night of. We're going to have an awesome silent auction. We got Harley Davidson, 2 different dealerships, Gateway and Ted's are all going to donate some things. We got blues tickets. We've got the guitar from Devin Allman and Dwayne Bett. We've got Steve's Hot Dogs. We've got tons and tons of really awesome things. We've got some Michael Rooker from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I've met him. My daughters have met him. And side note,
donated,
Wizard World, we paid for the autograph because my oldest daughter's a massive Walking Dead fan. I've met a lot of celebrities because I used to own a comic store. We used to do this. Michael Rooker is the first guy that I never paid for his picture, walked around the counter, hugged my daughter, talked to her, took a picture, was cool as can be. Great guy. So that's a great gift.
That's awesome. Well, he's one of my sister's friends, and we've known him since 2012. And funny you say you paid for that. I paid $10 to meet Anthony Michael Hall, and ended up dating him for 2 years, and he never gave me my $10 back. So it was.
I think you just buried the lead on this entire fucking conversation. And cemented yourself as the greatest person to ever be on our show. And we've got like an NHL interview guy that's been. In fact, we propelled him to the NHL.
We did propel him to the NHL.
You were way cooler than that.
Well, you'll have to have me on the show for that story. It's pretty freaking funny.
So
pencil it in.
I just have to ask real quick. When you broke up with him, did he try to kill himself with a flare gun?
No.
Yeah.
He's it's so funny. It's like, I honest to God was mean to him. I said, hey, man, you were big in the 80s. I was born in the 80s. I wasn't yesterday. What do you want? That's
Damn,
honest
Gina.
to God what I said to him.
Wow.
And he was like, it was great.
Yeah, well, you don't even pencil it in. You put it in pen. You tell me the first time you can get together. We're getting together, if for no other reason than to talk about Weird Science and Anthony Michael Hall. But,
Oh, jeez.
Okay, we'll do that for sure. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, back to Riff for Gifts, I really hope that everybody comes out. I mean, we got some great support, and I'm so freaking proud that this is happening. I'm so excited to cross this off my bucket list. I'm so excited to be working with Shane because it's just been, he's just like me. He's a self-starter. He's a motivator. He's excitable. He's interested in what's going on and helping people and bringing communities together. And that's like ultimately, that kind of passion and compassion is just it's awesome. And I'm just really lucky and honored to be a part of it. So
and it's much needed right now in our world, especially in the St. Louis area and the whole country. It's just it's the best message to portray right now out to people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So that's ta-da. I'd curtsy, but you can't see me. So there it is.
I'm just going to assume you did it. I've seen your picture,
Yep.
so I just pictured what it looks like. And Shane,
Don't make it weird, man.
what do you got? Yeah, curtsy's a weird picture. Shane, I've got a curtsy fetish. I can't help it. I don't know. Shane, what about you?
You can find all things Rock Paper Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, rockpaperpodcast.com, and click subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you're getting your PC Bombcast at. You can click that subscribe button.
Yeah, and I'll to piggyback what you just said on that. Definitely go out and I mean, I got a feeling that most of our listeners now know who Shane is. I hope all of your listeners know who you are, but you definitely it's worth it. Since we've done this show, and this is episode, like I said, 153, not like 12,416 like yours, but we've met some great people. We've met the guys of the ABC podcast. We talked to the guys of Cerebral Entertainment podcast on through messengers and things like that. We've yet to do their show. Bunch of other really cool people, but you're by far the like I said earlier, I mean, there's not enough superlatives to describe how much you just do it for everyone else and not you. And that's a rare thing in this world anymore. Certainly not on our end. We're the selfish as it gets.
Oh, yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, we're in it for the beer. I mean, there's
We're
no way
terrible
around
people.
it. Yeah, we're bad people, Shane. We're better for knowing you, and you're way worse for knowing us. So it's like you guys both said. It's Riffs for Gifts. It's at Pops. It's November 24th. Let's run through the bands real quick. One more time, Shane.
You got Outrun the Fall. They're definitely our heaviest band. They're going to close out the night, bringing the hard rock.
Which works for Pops.
Yep, for sure. The Poor, kind of pop rock in there. There's different stuff, but they're really great. They haven't played in like almost a year, so I'm pumped to see them
awesome.
back on the stage. Steeples, two former members of Fivefold that were real big in St. Louis. They've now formed this new group. It's a little more pop sound, and they're going to put on a great show. Monk and the People. They're going to be their farewell show. They're calling it quits. This is your last chance to dance with them, and they're going to bring the funk for the night. So it's a very diverse lineup of styles, and then you got the Matching Shoe, or kind of
I like the name.
Yeah, that's a great name. The kind of 60s rock and roll influences, like a lot of Doors and Beatles kind of in there. And then Silent Hollow's kind of more modern alternative rock, and they're going to fire up the party at 7 o'clock. $10 at the door, or $5 with a toy donation.
Or pay the $10 and bring the toy donation.
Or any
do that. Don't be assholes. Do that.
It's all going right to the charity. So whatever you give, it's all going right there. So so 6:30 door, 7 o'clock show over at Pops in Sauget, Illinois, November 24th. And like I said, Lexy mentioned we got a bunch of great silent auction stuff. We got a lot of Inkspot along with sponsoring this party. They also, Big Dave Kanoy is going to be hosting the party with Hamilton Alexander of Hellhound Magazine.
Oh, cool.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun to have those two guys up front hosting. But Inkspot also kicked in a $200 gift certificate, T-shirts, and free piercings and stuff. So they'll be on that merch table as well. A lot of great sponsors. Schlafly kicked in a nice tour and all this stuff, and all this. I forget all the package, but it's really a nice offer also.
Now, real quick question. Was that both you and Lexy both did a lot of footwork calling these people?
Oh, yeah. We called in about every favor we had, trying to get
awesome
So
What a favor to call in, though. I mean, it's easy to call in favors when it's for a good
sure.
cause.
I mean, I'm terrible.
I call in. Look, my daughter's going to Washington and New York for her 8th grade trip this year. I've called in my favors to my friends like Kyle that owns Shamrocks, and Andrew and that's for me. Yeah. That's just cheaper on me. I'm telling you, you're way better people than we are.
I'm terrible at asking for anything for myself, but for asking for kids for charity and stuff, I've been asking everybody. So. But yeah, we're so excited about this, and then to think about the potential for to keep growing this in the future as well. So
yeah, the first annual Riff for Gifts this year at Pops on November 24th. Doors open at 6:30. Show starts at 7. Bring lots of toys. Bring $10. Hell, bring $30. Who gives a shit? Just it's not for you. It's not for the show. It's for kids. So do it. Tom, what do you got for Throw It to Missy?
Well, hey, those St. Louis Blues.
Of course he was going to bring up the Blues. This is where the podcast hits the grinding halt. No, I'm just kidding.
We do have 2 tickets to the Blues game.
Yeah, awesome.
I would call those 2 tickets to hell now, but it used to be 2 tickets to paradise. Those Blues yesterday lost a heartbreaker 3-2. I was in attendance with my 4-year-old who had to go potty not once, not twice, not thrice. 5 times.
No, that's a lot of times.
5 times.
Did you keep giving him drinks?
No, he only actually had to go 3 of those 5 times. He was driving me fucking crazy. And
kids, man.
I know.
They're the greatest suck in the world.
I mean, I just couldn't relax.
I get it.
I was like,
and you're those stairs with your heart.
No, I made him walk his ass up the stairs this time.
Oh, good job.
Because now he knows where to go. But god damn. But then I made him give the beer guy the money, and he goes, "Gotta be honest with you, this is probably the youngest customer I'll have all day."
Yeah, and it's illegal.
Yeah,
so good for the beer guy.
I did see some security looking at me like, "No, I'm taking the beer. He's just handing him the money."
Yeah, still illegal technically. Yeah, still breaking the law, but that's okay. Start them young.
Yeah,
start them young. Anything else?
That's about it.
Well, I, for the first time in the history of this podcast, have nothing for the Throw It to Missy segment. Wow. I don't need to talk any more than I've already talked. But what I do want to say is I want to. First off, I'm very happy to have our first calling guest. I'm happy it's someone that's pretty fucking cool like Lexy. Mm-hmm, I look forward to maybe talking to you soon in the future, and I'll do what the kids say and slide into your DMs, and we'll figure something out. I'll hit you up, is what I used to say, but yeah, I don't know how that works anymore. But one more time with it's Hess Van Schlemmer.
Schlemmer.
Nice.
Yep.
And you can go to hvsmetalworksart.com. What about your music? Where can they find all that stuff at?
Well, we're actually in the middle of recording an album with Candy Coated Evil, but the hiatus thing happened. But I'm actually going to do a solo thing here coming up. But I've got various videos kind of on my Facebook, my personal Facebook, if anybody wants to check them out. But I'm kind of and there's some videos on YouTube too of us of Candy Coated Evil. So if anybody wants to check out some really rough stuff.
I was going to say I featured her on the show as a singer-songwriter, and we did a couple acoustic jams on the show. So
nice.
You can check those out.
That's the best way to hear me.
So you said once the doctors clear you to go back into the game, where can they find out where you're playing on that?
Facebook. I've got. I'll be put. If you go to my I need to put up a music page, but if you go to my personal Facebook, just Lexy Schlemmer, you'll find all my. I post all my stuff as I do them. So
awesome.
So for the whole month.
Well.
Yeah. So people can go check me out.
It's been an incredibly good time, and of course, anybody that wants to find Shane can go to rockpaperpodcast.com, right?
Yep.
And they can go to what's the Facebook? You've got one where there's where there's you left off the T, right? On
the Twitter handles, I'm missing the T, but
Rock Paper Podcast minus the T,
yeah.
And you can hit that. You can hit Shane everywhere. You can find Shane. I'm gonna tell you what, if you can't find Shane,
I'm very accessible.
You're doing social media wrong. It's always awesome to have you on here, Shane.
Yeah, man.
It's even better when you bring people like Lexy, so it works out. It works out for us. Lexy, I appreciate you calling. We are definitely going to let you off the phone now, and we're going to wrap this up because the last thing we do on this thing is we play our music and we go home. So we're going to do that right now. And you've been great, Tom.
Let's go Blue.
And we're playing the music, so that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lexy.
I'm going to friend request you, and we're going to talk.